Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of HCTalk. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley. Our guest on the program today is Mike King, who is the 74th District Representative for the state of Kansas. How are you doing today, Mike?
Great, Lance. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try to get people that really impress me on the program, especially that's first and foremost. When most people know that I'm somebody that's always paying attention to what's going on through policy making and politics and the whole thing. And when you ran to replace then be Representative Owens, who became senator, I just really watched that a lot. I think you were very open and transparent about who you were. I like that a lot. I followed you and just feel like I kind of got to know you like that, but I didn't know you personally. And so this just was a great opportunity for me to reach out and get to know you better as who you are as a human being, and then also afford everybody else who listens to the podcast the opportunity just to get to know a little bit more about Mike.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, just a little bit about me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can start this. One thing we always do is I always ask where you hail from. Like, if you want to say, and I'm going to assume you were born. I mean, I can make a bunch of assumptions. You're born in Kansas. I know you're from 74th District, so I'm going to say lifelong 74th District resident. I don't know. So just kind of where you hail from, where you went to school, what kind of activities did you like growing up, that type of thing.
All right. Well, was born in Newton, fourth generation on our family farm, just outside of Heston. So we call Heston home. We live near Heston. Graduate of Heston High School. Went to college in John Brown University in Salem Springs, Arkansas, and got my construction degree with a business minor. And have always been had the love for construction. So our grandfather started a bridge building business based in Heston. Some people know that, King Construction Company. So I had the opportunity to build bridges as a kid and really loved the process, loved thinking things through, loved the time and space and the money involved in how do you build a bridge.
Yeah.
And be involved in that. So learn how to read blueprints and drawings, and really, really enjoyed that. So growing up, my interests would be I really enjoyed farming. Prior to being old enough to work on a bridge crew, my uncle farmed in the North Newton area, and did that for a couple of summers, and enjoyed being outside. Some of my hobbies are I really enjoy golf, enjoy traveling, specifically around the United States. There are so many great places to see, great places, great people to meet. So that's what we do a lot of.
Yeah. So I'm traveling. You're after my own heart, right?
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we always would travel around to different historical sites. So when you travel, what's kind of the interest that you have? Is it just wanting to see? I could say that you want to go see the longest built bridge in the United States.
That's right.
right. Or these construction marvels, or something. But what when you're traveling, kind of what are you looking for when you want to go see the sites?
So what my wife and I, and I'd be remiss if I didn't have a shout out to Peggy. So married for 40 years, and we have 4 adult kids and 2 grandkids.
Very cool.
Right now. Traveling, we always enjoyed seeing state capitals.
Okay.
So my wife should have known better. On our honeymoon, we went to see state capitals. And also, whenever I'd see a road construction project, or for sure a bridge project, we'd do a loop around it and take a look. And so she should know that she was in trouble at that point.
And you're over there informing her, this is this, and that is that, and this is how we do this. Yeah, because that's kind of a niche. I mean, I have no idea the process from beginning to end when it comes to bridges or road construction of any kind.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's kind of the way I view my life, too, is kind of the way you think about construction. You start with a firm foundation. On a bridge, you drive piling down into the ground until you get that solid rock, that solid foundation. For me, my personal foundation is my walk with Christ, our Lord and Savior. So that's where I start my foundation, and then start my foundation around my family. And then it's just as things come, as elements come, as weather comes, as different types of building happens, well, that's life too. Sometimes you're throwing a wrench, or you're throwing a health concern, or an opportunities to move, to explore new things. That's all part of construction. That's all part of life. So I always draw on the parallel, and always learning, always wanting new technology, new ways of doing things. And that's, again, the way I do life. I don't like being stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
I like challenges, and I like having to figure things out. And how do I surround myself with people that work as a team for the joint effort? That's really what we have up in Topeka.
Yeah.
Is a lot of like-minded people working together for the good of the district.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of taking it back, one thing that I do know about you that I thought was really impressive was that at one point in time you were the secretary for the state of Kansas.
Right. So that official title was Secretary of Transportation for the state of Kansas. Had an opportunity to work for Governor Brownback. That's an appointed position confirmed by the Senate. My vote was 39-1,
right.
So I was.
That's pretty good.
I felt pretty good about that.
Especially when it's politics, people debate it left and right and up and down in every which direction. Yeah. So okay, so I'm gathering that you'd mentioned being Hestonian, then from there going off to college, coming back, working for the family business, but also farming. So I would call you a farmer kid, but that's. There's a lot that goes into the production of agriculture. There's a lot that goes into, like what we had mentioned about, bridge building and whatnot. So from there, how long did you do the working for the family business? And not only that, but I know the building you're talking about, King Construction, and knowing that was a family business that you said your grandfather was a part of. I'm guessing your dad probably, and then here you are. Got some big shoes to fill, right?
So a little different. So King Construction was able to work there through college, and then graduated from college, and I wanted to explore the nation a little bit.
Okay.
So I worked out of college, graduated, and I'm not going to say what year. That might age me.
Yeah. 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah. Somewhere around the 2000s.
Around the 2000s. That's right. Had an opportunity to work with a nationwide builder, and so I was in Texas and Florida for the majority of my time, building highway projects. Was involved on estimating and planning lock and dams on the Mississippi River. Power plants, coal-fired power plants, cross-country pipelines. Really had the desire to do that. 10 years of that, and then my dad had left the bridge building business at that point. Wanted to sell our family farm and sell his little business that he had started. So that's what I came back for.
Okay.
Grew that from 2 people to about 50 people. And that was based in McPherson. I didn't want to compete with my cousins at that point, and so they had done a tremendous job on building bridges. So I did refinery work, civil work for oil refineries, chemical plants, like Westar electrical substations, things like that, in the central Kansas area.
Okay.
And had a wonderful experience. Did that for about 20 years.
Okay.
And then woke up one day and realized there was someone better to run my company than myself. So I gave the employees the opportunity to really run with it, take it on, and that's where, for me to separate out and to make sure they knew that they were responsible for the company, I went and worked with one of my best friends, Mark Hutton, at Hutton Construction.
Okay.
That they later changed to Hutton Corporation when they added architectural and design.
Okay, so 10 years, you went abroad, right?
Yes.
And you listed a ton of different things, right? So
Right.
so it wasn't something where you did A, A, and then you just went for different places doing A.
Right.
You went like all over. I mean, you listed a lot of stuff. So what? Two things, but same type of thing. What was the coolest thing about being out there for 10 years across those? Because you had to do a lot of traveling, right? So, like, what's kind of the coolest thing you've seen? What was one of the neatest projects that you were responsible for being a part of? I mean, just kind of like that.
Yeah, we helped with can't remember if it was a water or sewer. I believe it was a water treatment plant for Walt Disney World.
Wow.
In Orlando, Florida.
Very cool.
So we were able to see a little bit of the back operations of how Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida transpires. It's amazing, the behind the scenes, so they can have the customer experience that they have. Was also on a cross-country pipeline in East Texas. Learned how to identify what a copperhead snake is out in the middle of the pine forests. That was interesting. And then when we lived in Miami, Florida, we loved the climate there. There's a reason why people love to go there to retire. But also we became certified scuba divers, and we would go scuba diving off of John Pennekamp State Park in the Keys. And really everywhere where we lived, we tried to immerse ourselves in what's local there, knowing that the day would probably come sometime when we'd come back to central Kansas.
You're a long way from Miami. There's not much scuba diving that you can do around here. Okay, so I'm intrigued. Scuba diving. So do you like the water, the ocean? Like, why scuba dive?
It was just something we had never done before. My wife is a water person. She probably enjoyed it more than I did. But you go out 7 miles offshore and in a small boat, and they tell you to jump off, and you go, okay, what could go wrong here?
Right. Yeah, you're there to protect the missus, right? Like, you're not going out here to the sharks and all that. So did you ever get to be like, was there any experience that happened that you were like, wow, that was a close call? I mean, what's something that's like because I've never done that, right? So I'm trying to, in my mind's eye, envision what that might look like. And the first thing that I think is, oh man, sharks, right? I mean,
so you jump off the boat, you go down about 40 feet is where we hung out most of the time. There's a beautiful coral reef that they would take us diving to. The ocean is so clear there, you can see a long way. But also with your goggles, your mask that you have, everything is amplified, so it looks bigger than it really is. Okay. So there's these barracuda fish. I remember, and I thought it was a stinking whale that was coming by. And a barracuda, it moves its mouth open and shut, slowly. And I thought, okay, this is it. Here's a whale coming. I'm gone.
It's chomping at the bit to get to you, right. Too, right? I love it.
But that was for me the scariest. Is it looked really, really big. But just the sheer beauty and the colors that you have down, that 40 foot down underwater was just amazing. We enjoyed the ocean. We enjoyed going to the beaches. Really enjoyed things that weren't normal for us. Yeah. So again, you're going to see me say this over and over again. I like pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, and so for me that was a push outside. Yeah. When we got certified, one of the things they do in the swimming pool is where you train at. And you don't know it, but they come and they rip your mask off and they pull your breathing apparatus out. All right, well, that's not exactly what I had in mind. But then what they want to do is, they teach you how do you respond to that, because that could happen in the ocean. And, how do you stay calm? How do you, get your mask back on and, clear the water out of it. And I didn't do so well in that.
Little panic attack there.
Yeah, there was a little panic there.
Like they didn't put that in the brochure. Yeah, nobody told me about this. Okay. you've talked about positive things, right? When it comes to you're coming off to me as a very optimistic person. I just listening to what you're saying as far as not just staying in Kansas, going abroad, doing all these different things, all these different challenges that you've had to come across. I guess that would be my word. I would put in there that there's got to be times that you were challenged as a person doing all of this. So what is something that you can remember being probably one of the biggest challenges for you in your personal life during that time?
I think the challenges were learning. We had our first child in Orlando, away from family, away from everybody. So that was a little bit of a challenge, is how do you start life with a newborn? And also the challenge is, how do you move from different cities? And we were mainly in large cities. How do you move? How do you find connections? How do you feel like you're part of something bigger? But still, that small town kid and my wife grew up in the Wichita area, and so a little bit of a homebody as well. So that was a challenge to force yourself to get out and be involved in the community. Typically, our projects were a couple of years long, so we long enough that you needed to get involved, but not long enough that you knew you're going to stay there forever. Yeah. So I would say that would be a challenge, and then a challenge for my wife to find new employment everywhere she went. For me, it was just changing the people we worked with. It was the same company, so my side of that world didn't change. Probably sometimes is to realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. You're not good at everything. And so how do you admit that? And I had to admit that a couple of times. This isn't the right fit for me. This isn't the right role for me. How do we surround ourselves with those where we can find that right fit for us?
And so you talked about your faith and your foundation in Christ. So I would think that throughout this time, part of that would be finding a church home that you would be going to. So did you find yourself when you were abroad that God led you in the right direction to find places that you could plug into, or was it more difficult to do that? Because that's kind of an intimate situation, right? For all of the different denominations that are out there, and different teaching methods, and what one church body offers a group versus another. I mean, what was that like? That was an amazing experience for us. When we lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we attended Pantico Bible Church, and we probably had 50 young couples in our group. Large city, large group, and we did lots of stuff together. So that really helped keep us involved. And then I was involved in helping lead Awana groups. So I really enjoyed the children and helping mentor and have them have a positive experience about what church can be like. When we moved to Miami, we attended a large Presbyterian church, and I always remember Diane Gish maybe, was a great organist, and she was at that church. And so that was our first experience with a very large church, but very good teaching, preaching churches. So there we weren't so involved with a small group or people our age. So just different experiences probably led us more to the non-denominational side. And that's why we enjoy going to Heston MB Church. In our opinion, that is the most non-denominational, just Christ-centered church, evangelical church. And we had neither of us had that experience growing up. So we enjoyed that a lot. Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing a common theme here, that as you've gone through life, right? You've said this already on the podcast, but the key is plugging in. Mm-hmm. So if no matter where you went, that was what you chose to do was, we're in a new place. Did you ever develop like a formula, right? I mean, was it, okay, we're here, so then the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find a church body that we want to be a part of. and then there was probably work relationships, right?
Right.
You got to just start work relationships. So is there like a formula that you could leave with somebody that maybe doesn't travel around or hasn't bounced from place to place, or maybe is doing that now and thinking, man, this is too much for me? Is there like a formula that you both employed to be able to be successful in that situation?
I think where we had the best success is when we got to be friends with the locals. So the work-related people, we would tend to talk about work too much, probably. So vendors, architects, engineers, inspectors, the state we worked for, the Florida Department of Transportation, got to know those people really well. Hey, can we go out and do something with you? Take us to something local. If you know a little bit about me, whenever I drive, I try to avoid interstates.
Right.
I go the back ways. I try to avoid chain restaurants. I try to find the local places. For the most part, those have turned out okay. Got sick a couple of times.
Yeah, right.
Brad Burkholder, if you're listening to this, sorry about the restaurant in Keachai. My fault. Sorry. But really stretch yourself to find that local person and have them share life. And that does two things. You're able to pour into them, but they're also to pour into you. And I think we have to put ourselves in positions where we're on the receiving end. So I think if there's anything encouragement I could do is allow yourself to be on the receiving end, the nurturing end, the filling end. There are people that's their gift, and they may or may not say that out loud. But if you give them an opportunity, they do an amazing job. And I think that's what made us successful when we traveled around for those 10 years.
For some reason, the word that's coming to my mind right now is make yourself vulnerable.
Yes. So explore Kansas. After we moved back here and our kids got a little older, I would take them on Explore Kansas weekends before Explore Kansas became cool.
Right.
And we would just get in the car and we'd get to the end of the driveway and we'd say left or right. And then we would go for a while and then we'd say left or right. And we would tend to end up in central or western Kansas. And just walk into a store and just say, hey, we're from out of town and we're just here. What do you have here?
Yeah.
And let people share. And we had I remember one of the really special times was we went to a jewelry store in Great Bend. And the gal said, I love what you're doing here. I left her a little money. She said, come back in 3 hours. And she helped the kids make jewelry. Cool. It's an experience that they'll always remember. Yeah. And that was kind of a way for, yes, to be vulnerable, but also allow other people to share their gifts.
So how old was you? I'm seeing this 10 years. You're kind of given a timeline. So I know that you had mentioned that you came back here for a reason, which was obviously your dad's retirement, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have to, right?
Right.
It wasn't like you got to do that. So why, if you're out here traveling abroad and you're able to see all the sights and all the sounds, you've developed a way in which you can have a process to go someplace new, plug in, establish, spend some time there. That's got to be enjoyable. I mean, I could see just you talking about it that's something that you really enjoyed, and I got to say that you've got to be somebody that loves people to do that, and new experiences in life and optimism with that. Why move back?
We had just had our first child in Orlando, and again, my wife's from the Wichita area. Her family is around here, and we didn't want to raise our child in a large city like that and away from family. So a couple of things all happened all at once. The first one was Dad wanting to sell the farm and step aside on the business side and let me be able to run that. And we just like the culture of Kansas. We while we enjoyed living in Dallas and Miami and Orlando, we knew that wasn't probably going to be long term. So we are more than content here living in central Kansas. There's everything that we have within close enough for us to be able to go to and attend, and it's not all about entertainment.
Right.
And I think that's what the big city has to offer is entertainment. And for us, entertainment is raising and growing a family and being involved locally.
Yeah, and just mentioning that, you know, now having that information about your kids and having the first one and wanting to be around family and I know I'm leading here, but did that just seem like God was opening the doors for you to come back, and you just had that confirmation that it's time to come here, be around family, raise the kiddos, and then my job opportunity with taking over the business, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, most definitely. We probably hadn't been thinking about it until Dad called the one day and said, hey, you know, here's an opportunity. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. So Dad went in order by age-wise, and all the other brothers said, you know, not the right timing or not now. And so looked at my wife and said, okay, I think the timing is right for us.
Yeah.
And we were both in total agreement. And the grandparents had the opportunity to be involved with our children while they were still living.
Yeah. So all kids are Hestonians?
3 of them were all graduated from Heston.
Okay.
Our last one, and now we might shift into the politics. Our last one graduated from Topeka West High School.
Okay.
So realized that you know, someone was better than me to run the business. I'd spent some time with Hutton Corporation, helping grow them outside of the central Kansas area. And had a desire for politics, but didn't know what or how. An opportunity presented itself to be involved with Governor Brownback. So I started on the Lottery Commission.
Okay.
And then became commissioner of board chair of the lottery, which honestly, that just met once a month meetings. You know, okay. Let's be real honest about that.
But you got your toes wet, right?
Yeah. I got the toes wet and had the FBI background check, and all of those things were leading to what I didn't realize. Then they called me one day and said, "Well, you have a transportation background. Would you be interested in helping us out at KDOT?" So I said, "Sure." So went through a couple of interviews there. And the governor was looking for someone a little bit more business-minded. So there's about 11 different cabinet positions, and he wanted a couple of businessmen or women involved. And so there was an opportunity, an opening for that. And so that led us to do that. So I traveled back and forth from Topeka for about 6 months, and then our youngest daughter was the only one at home then. She said, "Let's move to Topeka." So against my wife's better judgment. So we did that, and she finished her last year and a half up and graduated from Topeka West.
Very cool.
And was involved in that experience from a cabinet level point of view. A lot of opportunities for her to hear different speakers and go to different events that none of the other children had the opportunity to do.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so what I mean, as open-ended as it could be, what was that like?
It was an amazing experience. Went up there one day. I mean, our company, we had about 50 employees, and you know, our volume of work was, you know, under $50 million worth of volume to go to an agency that was 2,800 people and a $1.5 billion budget. Yeah. But it's all about the process. It's all about just breaking things down. And it's all about not a broken system. You know, KDOT was before me, KDOT was after me. It's just how do you look at the state of Kansas, and how do you invest, how do we as taxpayers invest $1.5 billion in preservation, in roads and bridges and airports, in safety, in school buses, in transportation for lots of different nonprofits. It felt very natural to me. And leading a team was something that I had always done. So that's just leading a team. And then being a part of the directive on how the governor wanted to lead and use resources around the state.
So you'd mentioned the process, okay? So we had talked about the process. I'd asked you about, like, was there a process that you did, or what's the process that you could tell somebody else to walk through in that situation? For you, do you find that your experience with being involved in your business, then that when you were moved to something that the numbers were bigger, the staff was bigger, if I just do the same things, the same basic process, that this is going to work?
Yes. You always have to really understand where your talents lie and where other people's talents, and then the vision. We helped create a vision, but a vision was also created by the legislators and by the governor and the rest of the cabinet. So executing a vision is really important, and then getting a team on board to then, from an operational point of view, deliver that. So KDOT is an operational company, an operational agency. They do it really well. So there it was, how do you take a program, how do you take needs, and how do you distribute across the state as equitable as you can. That's a tough word for me.
Yeah, it's a tough word.
Equitable. As you can.
Twisted and tied up, boy. I love it.
And then probably for the first time I realized the importance of the Kansas City area and the state economy. I'd always understood how important agriculture is. No question about it. I'd always understood aviation. No question about it. The Kansas City area is I'll say the third economy, and it is the growing part population-wise. So they have different needs and concerns, but it's also where people want to come, and they want to visit, and they want to have tourism there. So from a transportation point of view, how do you help enhance that? So I think the downtown streetcar is an example of that. It's on the Kansas City, Missouri side. The day will come where it'll come to the Kansas side, and I look forward to the day when that happens. That's all part of the experience of a larger city, in a smaller setting.
Yeah, and just you'd mentioned something that came to my mind right now. Transportation budget is like one of the largest budgets that have to be administered in the state of Kansas, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Back when I was there, it was about a $16-17 billion total state budget, and KDOT was about $1.5 billion of that. So yeah, a large part of it. Sales tax goes directly to the infrastructure, also, as well as the federal and state fuel tax that comes in as also, and those haven't changed in a long time. So as cars become more efficient, fuel mileage, and as there's some electric and hybrids, that eats into the funding source for the Department of Transportation. Also, we brought in the Turnpike to be a little bit more sister organizations and cooperate a little bit better. And then I was also able to push forward the interoperability, which is just a big word saying that we don't have toll gates anymore. So we started that program, and I'm so proud of the team there at the Turnpike to be able to take that vision, keep going with it, keep working hard, remove those toll barriers. It's a safety issue for me, and where the traveling public can go through and more safely and more efficiently.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so you had that experience. I'm guessing it didn't sour you or anything to the point where you didn't want to maybe take on a different role as far as in politics, if we want to call it that. So just kind of fast forward to when Mike King came up on my radar, right?
Yep.
And that's when you decided to file and run for the 74th House District. What would possess you to do that?
That is a great question, Lance. No, as secretary, I had such an amazing experience with legislators, both on the House and the Senate side, that I knew when the opportunity came that I would like to go and be a part of that. And so it's politics is all about timing. I let then Representative Owens know I would have an interest, whenever, he, thought he would make a switch or do something different. So I kept involved politically from a policy point of view where I kind of knew what was going on. I would go to Topeka regularly just to keep relationships open there and also to give some advice from a small business owner. Point of view also, because that's what legislators need and desire, is to hear from everybody on lots of different issues. How is that going to affect me? And so getting that base of knowledge is really important. So that's what I did. Stephen came to me one day then and said that he was looking at running for the Senate. Would I have an interest in the House? And it was the right timing for me, and so I said yes. And so we filed on the same day then. Then I worked hard campaigning. District 74, we just went through the 10-year redistricting, so it changed slightly, but it's about 25 miles north-south and about 35 miles east-west. Yeah. And we all represent about the same number of people, about the 23,000 Kansans.
Yeah. Well, you don't get the luxury of being in a metropolitan area where what you're talking about is being maybe 10 blocks long and 10 blocks wide, right? I mean, or 10 blocks high, 10 blocks wide. I don't know if there's any that is that small, but yeah, that's a pretty big distance of travel. I mean, that consumes just travel time takes up a lot of that.
It does. It was a commitment, but I didn't have to be at my business, and I retired from Hutton Corporation and purchased a large sign company here based in Hutchinson. It was called Luminous Neon Sign. We renamed it Lumineo. Okay. I dropped a couple of letters and made one word out of it. So I didn't need to be there daily, and so that worked out. We have 11 cities in the new District 74. We have 8 school districts that are within that area, and an additional 7 school districts that the kids attend living within the districts, but the schools are in another district, in another county. So we represent most of Harvey County, with the exception of Newton and the southeast part of the county, the western third of Marion County, and southeast McPherson County, all areas that I know. Yeah. But I worked hard. I went door knocking at least 3 days a week. I knocked thousands of doors, and I just wanted to hear what people had on their mind. But I also knew I was going to be a freshman legislator. Yeah. I always said I was a freshman with an asterisk because I'd been around the process before. But being a legislator is so much different than being a cabinet secretary. Here we, as legislators, we create legislation policies to help the state grow. And then the cabinet agency, specifically KDOT, then would implement those ideas, from a strategic point of view. So very different tasks. And it did take me the first session to really know and learn what is the best role that I can do for the district.
So you kind of know how the sauce is made, right?
Right.
A little bit, but you also have the experience of now you're on the front end, right? You're I love analogies. So we're gonna say that before you were responsible for baking the cake,
Right.
and now you're responsible for putting all the ingredients in.
Yes.
But knowing the end result, do you feel like that has helped you understand what the consequences are? There's a lot of times, as I says, there's a lot of times we hear the word unintended consequences,
Yes.
right? So, the legislature has an idea, they want to do A, B, or C. Well, then after that happens, it comes to how is this implemented? And then because of I'm going to say the small group of people that have worn both hats, such as yourself, do you find that as a true statement?
Most definitely. One thing that I did learn is the importance of cleanup legislation. Passing something, knowing that you may not have 100% of the facts, but you have 99% of them, so you can have that cleanup bill the next year or, within 2 years then, just to tweak it, just to make sure you're hitting your target exactly right. The other thing that I would say is where I would bring value to the House side is knowing how to write legislation that then an agency can take and actually work with. There are some legislation that I saw and I wondered, what would I do with that?
Yeah.
So now I'm able to help think through and help process. Hey, this is an outcome that we want. What can we not specifically tell them, but give them a little range to work with on to develop the strategy behind it? But here's the outcome that we want. And small business growth, how do we encourage small businesses? I was on Commerce Committee. We were able to work through some things there that I think we did some amazing work for small business. And then also, how do we take tax dollars and really stretch it as far as you can? And I'm a proponent of trying to keep as many tax dollars in the individual's pocket as possible and let them decide.
Yeah. Limited government. So what was just straight up? What was, in your opinion, the biggest challenge or hurdle that you had to face year one?
I think biggest challenge was understanding the procedure, I understood how a bill was created. I understood the committees, but then I didn't really understand the significance and the role of legislative research, who is in the basement of the Capitol, and they do an amazing job of actually drafting the bill itself. So at a committee, there's legislative research people there, and they're listening to all of that, and then they're putting the A's and the ands and the commas and everything in the right spot. And didn't realize that skill set that was available to legislators. And you could take your idea and concept to them and sit down with them. I had them draft an amendment for me one time, and just that dialogue back and forth was amazing, how they got out of me, not what they wanted, but they got out of me what I was really thinking, and I said, okay, this is how we can draft it then. Mm-hmm. So that was probably the most interesting and part that I had to learn.
Yeah, because what you're saying is you go in there and you say, I want to just this basic concept. Then from there, they know all the nuts and bolts and how that concept will affect other laws and what steps. Because it's all like a spaghetti bowl, really, is it not? You can't move one thing without it affecting something else somewhere along the way.
You're exactly right. And we passed a lot of bills this year. And that process is that first draft that comes back is still wide, because you want the committee time to be able to weigh in on it. And then it gets a little narrower after a committee. Then you want time for people on the floor, the House floor, to be able to work on it. Then it gets a little narrower. So it keeps getting narrower along the way, and it keeps getting better. And so you have to allow other people to be able to weigh in, get all of the ideas before that final vote then isn't the same vote that you had in the committee. And that was an interesting process to me.
Yeah. And once again, we'll go back to, I'm hearing you say, like, not trust the process, but that you are intrigued in the process, even though it may be challenging.
Yes.
You accept the challenge to learn the process. So would I be putting words in your mouth by saying one of the biggest challenges was learning the process in which you're supposed to go through in order to, as a legislator, get accomplished what you're looking to get accomplished?
Right. And again, leadership had set an agenda out, and so we, as incoming freshmen, we didn't exactly know all of the agenda. So now this next session, we're going to have a lot more prior knowledge about what's going on. And here in a minute, I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing this summer.
So as we talked about the challenges, right, of the first being there, the first year, your freshman year. So on the flip side, what is one of the best things you think, or the most enjoyable things about what's transpired since you have done your first year?
Well, really enjoyed being a part of the team and learning. And then the Republican freshmen elected me class president. Didn't even know there was such a thing. And so what we're doing is we're learning. We're taking this summer and fall and before next session to really engage ourselves in topics that are important statewide. So actually this evening I'm heading out to Garden City, and we have a freshman working session, and we're going to learn about local governments from the township to the city to the county level. And we have 4 of these around the state that we're doing about every other month. And it's a way for us to stay engaged together as a class, but also for us to learn things that maybe don't come natural to us, or we're not on those committees. And so we're going to get a chance to really dive in and ask those questions that we may or may not want to ask, in a committee meeting. And then we're doing this all around the state, where we get a chance to see, all of the great things that are happening there. So that part is excited me and kept me engaged in learning.
Very cool, very cool. I gotta say, Mike, after having this conversation with you, I truly believe that this was part of the process for you and what God has in store for you in your life. And I just appreciate you and everything that you've done so far, and how willing you are just to be open and transparent and communicate with people. That's something that you really just can't, you just expect from your legislator, and when they do it, it changes the game for a lot of people, just the communication. So we're coming to the end of the program. Before we let you go, I always ask the guest, or I give the guest the last word to speak directly to the hearts and the minds of anybody listening. It can be whatever you want to say. What do you got to leave the audience with, Mike?
Well, I would want to leave with House District 74 and those 23,000 citizens. What an honor it is to help be your voice. Was so appreciative when people would come to the Capitol, where I could share them around. I could share with them, show them around the building. But more than that, just how work gets done. So one of the people that I had was a really special time was with Judge Marilyn Wilder. And she came up and she talked to our freshman class about adult drug court. And it was just an amazing experience and time well spent with Judge Wilder also, where she could learn and she could see the process too. But just to share with the rest of the state all the great things that are happening here. We have 5 international companies. We have 3 independent colleges, and 11 cities that are just wanting to do really well. I attended the USD Peabody School Board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I hope to get to every school board this summer and fall. And just not to say anything, but to listen. And really, what can I take back to Topeka? What can I do to benefit you? Because if you hear from one person, you get one person's opinion. If you hear from multiple people, you can really start to form something that's formative for everybody and can be impactful for everyone. So I just, again, appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to continuing to work hard for those, and just appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on the program. I just want to thank everybody for listening to this program of HC Talk. As always, I was your host, Lance Gormley, and our guest on the program was Mike King, who is the 74th House District Representative.
Thank you, Lance.
Have a good one, everybody.